Avila and welcome to this new episode of Creative Blueprints. Today I will share with you all this inspiring conversation that I had with Davey McEathron from Davey McEathron Architecture. Davey McEathron is a very distinguished architect who founded her own firm in the summer of 2014. He is celebrated for his innovative designs in buildings, furniture, public art throughout the city of Austin since 2008. Originally from Houston, Davey embarked on a creative journey as singer and guitarist in various Texas indie rock bands before transitioning to architecture. He pursued his studies in the Portland State University, a city renowned for its progressive urban design. Davey is also a founding member of El Grupo, a creative collective of artists, architects, and craftsmen who look for unique opportunities and projects. Since I moved to Austin nearly 4 years ago, I have been exploring the top architects and designers in the area, and I came across with Davey McEathron's name. And I was genuinely inspired by his exceptional work and influence in the city. I'm grateful with Creative Blueprints for allowing me to engage in an inspiring conversation with Davey, who has become one of my critical inspirations here in Austin. Thank you so much for watching this video. And again, if you find this video inspiring, especially with people that is in the construction field, new talents as architects or in the design area, please feel free to share it with others so we can celebrate and get inspired with the amazing work that these individuals are doing in the field. And also do not forget to subscribe, that is very important for me and I can continue sharing these amazing stories behind the design firms and architectural firms with you all. If you're trying to find more inspiration, do not forget to go to Instagram after you watch this video and find me as Creative Blueprints and Mitzi Avila Design. We are ready to start with this conversation. Let's get inspired and I hope you enjoy this video. Hello everyone, welcome to Creative Blueprints. And welcome to this new episode. I'm very excited for this one because I'm here with one of my favorite architects. Sometimes I know that I'm saying that everybody here is one of my favorites, but you don't know this. But when I moved to Austin, I was trying to browse, the exponents in architecture and design here in Austin, and I found Davey McEathron in the websites. And that name today, that person is real and is here. Oh my God, I can't believe it, but it's great. And welcome to Creative Blueprints, David.
Thank you.
And thank you for being part of this. I'll be asking you some questions. This is pretty simple. This is just like an informal talk to motivate and inspire new talents in the construction. So I know that you are doing an amazing work in the architecture here in Austin. And we are in one of your properties that you completed. So if you can just tell me more about yourself and about this property, where we are, and yeah.
Cool. Well, I've been an architect for about 11 years. I've been working in architecture for about 18 years. Started my own business 10 years ago. And been running 100 miles per hour since then. I'm trying to slow it down to about 55 right now so we can stay within the legal limits. But my wife and I, we have a design build company as well, Rock Paper Build, where we do construction as well as some other things, just kind of whatever we can get our hands on that we're interested in. And my architecture firm, Davey McEathron Architecture, like I said, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. We're actually we're slowing that down a little bit. We were a firm of 13 people a couple years ago, and we're slowing it down to a firm of 2. Hot news right now. This is the first time this is probably leaking out, but yeah, firm of 2, also being myself and my wife. We ran full speed for so long, we decided to slow it down and just kind of smell the flowers a little bit.
That's great. So, you told me that you are from Houston,
yeah.
And why did you decide to move to Austin?
Well, it was actually my wife's idea. So we met in Portland, Oregon. I moved to Portland in 2005 to go to architecture school at Portland State University in downtown Portland, Oregon. A mecca of beautiful urban design and sustainable design. It was a good place to study and learn about architecture. Met my wife there, and in 2008 she was working for Obama in Oregon working on the campaign there, and she wanted to stay working in politics. And Austin is the only state capital that we would consider living in. So she was like, "Hey, do you want to go back to Texas?" And I was like, "Hot summers, queso, yes."
Iced tea. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
You can't go. Well, at the time you couldn't. No one even knew what chili con queso was in Portland, Oregon, and that was like a staple of my diet. You know, it was on my cereal. You know, queso, everything. And so the invitation to go back to eating a normal, healthy lifestyle of queso again was too easy.
That's great. And I heard, because I have been, browsing more information about Davey, and I found several videos when you are talking about the properties that you are designing, but also I found that you said that you are a musician. Oh. So if you can tell me more about that.
Sure. So musician was my first creative love, and throughout all my 20s, I was traveling in a rock band, trying to make it. And it's a terrible business for the musician. So no, we had a lot of fun. We traveled the country. We played every dive bar in every corner of this country, and we did that for a long time, for over a decade. Last band that I was touring in was actually from Austin. They were called Shotzi, because we're playing again. We've been playing for the past few years again. So yeah, it was just, it was a fun time and great memories, but it's a terrible business for musicians. Like there's a couple people out there's Bono, and there's some guys that have made it, but it's just not the average is it's real low. So anyway, point being, after I had turned 30, I kind of had this thought, man, I'm 30, I should be an adult, I don't have a mortgage, I don't have health care, I don't have all the things that my brain was telling me I should have as an adult. That was my 30 was my midlife crisis, I think. It was the decade that kind of got me. And so I decided to go back to architecture school and chase that path down. To me, it felt like it was still a creative pursuit. It still gave me a lot of freedom, and it felt like I was, felt like I still felt a little bit like, I don't know, like punk rock a little bit, versus like being an engineer. Sorry, engineers. So actually recently we, all the guys in Shotzi, we were so great friends, and we were just like, we always talk about like, oh, we should start playing shows, and so like, maybe 3 years ago, we're just like, no, we're not playing shows again. So we play a few times a year in town. We're playing this weekend actually, but it's gonna be too late for this episode.
Oh my God! Where we are?
We're at Hotel Vegas.
Oh, great.
And then we're playing in Lawrence, Kansas on November 1st and November 2nd, playing in St. Louis with some old friends of ours, Ultimate Fake Book.
Well, now you know. And what type of music are you playing?
It's alternative, indie rock. The way that I sort of just like throw it out there, it's a mixture of like Foo Fighters and Weezer, kind of. So loud guitars, pop melodies.
That's great. And you think that, the music has like, is that the part of the questions that I will be asking you, but do you feel that the music has an influence in the way that you are designing the architecture that you're building?
I think so. I mean, there's obvious references to music like rhythm, and everything plays a part within a collective to make something. But writing music for an album is very similar to creating a building, right? Like, so all the pieces, so like every song on an album has to feel like it all belongs on the album. And so like every space in the house has to feel like it's part of the same collective. So it's kind of a similar theme. So if let's say you're writing a Tejano record, all the songs are probably Tejano, and they have, like a signature bass line or whatever those elements may be. Same thing with designing a house. If you're designing a Tex-Mex inspired house, like you're probably, all the thematic things are going to be in that as a collective whole to make the album, if you will.
That's great. And talking about the properties, can you tell me a little bit where we are today?
Sure. We're in Oak Haven. It is about a 4,000 square foot house over in Barton Hills. This was a house that was designed as a spec house, and Highline Homes came in here and executed this extremely well. This house, it's a very unique house. It's got a double height living room. You know, we're always fighting for square footage in designing these infill lots in Austin. So giving away square footage to a double height living room is not always something you can get away with doing, but we had enough to play with on this lot that we have this double height space, this beautiful raked plaster. It's one of my favorite elements in the house, and a lot of walnut and a lot of dark moody blacks throughout the house. But yeah, highly customized detailing, like this walnut screen wall here, the floating stair behind us. It's a fun time. It's a good album.
Yeah, it's a good album. That's great to know. And also, if you want to buy this property, is available. It is for sale. So yeah, just reach out to the agent and you can walk through this property. It's gorgeous.
Get a lot of time.
Yeah, and the palette is very moody and luxe and fantastic. So congratulations. And so, are you ready for your questions? Let's do it. All right. So the first one. What inspired you to pursue a career in the architecture industry, and when did you feel that it was the right time to start with your own firm?
Okay. Like as I mentioned, you know, being a musician, I was reading The Fountainhead while on tour one time. You know, it's like it's a chunky book. But that one actually that's what really turned me on to architecture. I was reading this book about Howard Roark, this kind of idealistic architect, and I was like, oh, architecture can actually be kind of cool. You know, it can be like a creative pursuit versus just like drawing floor plans for apartments or something. You know, that like in my mind's eye, that was just kind of more of a mundane sort of career. So yeah, reading that on tour inspired me to take a look around and see what could happen in architecture. And so that's what I did. And then I moved up to Portland, Oregon to go to school there, and came back for the hot summers and queso. And then as soon as I was eligible to start taking my exams, I started taking my exams. And as soon as I was eligible to start my own firm and actually getting licensed, I think I started within 6 months. And it was really about being able to get the kinds of projects that I wanted to work on. That was really the impetus for me starting my own firm. Was I really wanted to chase down projects that I wanted versus the boss of the firm saying, here's your next project, and whether you like it or not. So it was really about wanting to kind of like chart my own path and do the projects I wanted to do.
Great. And at some point, did you feel a little bit scared because this was a new city, or was it like a very clear vision of yourself doing this?
No, I don't think I was used to always being in a new location all the time from traveling in a band, and when I was a kid we moved every single year, so I had to make new friends every single year when I was a kid, and so I'm sort of used to my surroundings being shooken up a little bit and sort of like finding a sense of confidence to be able to make it. No, honestly, when I started my own firm, I had 2 addition remodel projects that had kind of landed on my desk from a builder that I made friends with. And so I literally had about $16,000 in fees to earn. And I would tell my wife, I was like, trust me, this is gonna work. I'll make just as much money as I was making in my last firm, promise you. And it just went like this. I think that was in the summer, and by the beginning of the year, I had 10 projects. Unfortunately, I had 10 projects, but yeah. So no, it was I never really had a time to think about being scared, honestly.
And what do you think that was that little detail or the key that even if you started like 6 months after you got your license, you got those projects that were amazing and they were great to build?
It's probably the same for a lot of architects when they're starting out. You start off with doing porch additions and like garage conversions, or like a bathroom remodel. They're all like very small, simple projects a lot of times. So, I would say the ones that we started off with were not ones that were ever going to be published in a magazine. In our mind's eye, they were, but we're still like, honing our skills and, figuring out how to work with a contractor. Because we did a lot of commercial work before. In my previous life, I did a lot of commercial and civic work. So whole different level of interfacing with contractors, different types of contractors. But yeah, just learning our craft and learning how to be an architect as an entrepreneur.
Great, awesome. Well, congratulations for that amazing success very quickly. What is your and your team's main source of inspiration?
Ooh, my main source is that's tough because you can kind of find it in a lot of places. Like we talked about music a little bit, traveling. Just like traveling a lot, it really kind of change your perception. Really kind of like if you kind of stay insular, it's hard to sort of like expand your brain a little bit. But yeah, traveling is a huge source of inspiration. Sculpture, art, anything. It's like whatever your eyeballs can land on can be inspiring. I wouldn't say there's like a main source.
And for your team, how many people do you have in your team?
There's myself, my wife, and then I've got a part-time person and a full-time person. So there's 3.5 of us currently.
What do you think that is your wife's main source of inspiration?
Everything from haircuts to she's big into fashion, and cowboy boots. So she gets a lot of inspiration from fashion probably, and traveling too. She's really big on traveling and and forcing us out to go do something.
That's great. All right. What would be something you wish you had known before starting your own firm?
How much admin work there is in having your own firm.
Do you think that I don't know, like you were missing some specific classes or lessons or a mentor? What you can share with us?
So they don't teach you how to run a business in architecture school, which it's an architecture school. It kind of makes sense that they're not, but also I think the statistics are something like 50% of all architects become entrepreneurs and run their own business. That's a high percentage of people that are going out into the world with zero education on running a business. And so it's funny, my first year of architecture school, there was a class called the Business of Architecture, but you couldn't take it till you were a second year student. And when I got to my second year, they canceled the class. never came back. But yeah, so I think how to read contracts, how to interface with a client. There's so many parts of that, and they're all not terribly hard to figure out. But they are something that if you're going into it blindly, it'd be good to have a leg up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, running payroll. There's a lot of fun parts of running your own business that they don't tell you about in architecture school.
Everything that they have to is besides the architectural part,
Right.
but it is related. But at the same time, we don't know exactly how to run business.
Right.
So it's very, I don't know, like so incredible that a person starts their own business without knowing everything that is coming from.
How much to charge? How much should you charge?
It's very, yeah.
I mean,
it's
give you a
basic,
leg up,
but
yeah.
it's not.
Right.
It's like everybody is just charging differently.
Yeah.
We don't have like a chart that, because if you charge less, you can't damage your reputation as a designer or architect. And if you charge a lot, it's like
you're not gonna get any work.
Exactly. It's like you have to be in the middle, but we don't have like any chart to compare with others. So.
Well, I think there's something too, like so I think the when I was just talking about fee, supposedly, but if you charge too little, then you get known as the person who is super affordable, and if you charge too much, you don't get any work. There's somewhere in between, but also like everybody's services are different, and it's hard to compare apples to apples because as an architect, we do the interior design, we do all the architecture, and we like if I allot 1,000 hours on a project, we're going to spend 1,400 hours. and I just don't charge you for the extra 400 because we're just sort of always fine tuning and making sure the details are right, just making sure all the information's in the drawings. We pride ourselves on having like really digestible, understandable drawing sets. And we get praised for them all the time by contractors, the amount of detail that we put into our drawings and the amount of things that we're like, you know, our foundation plan shows where the toilet goes in the foundation, which is like kind of, I've never seen it in our architect's drawings, but we're just trying to give them a leg up. But anyway, so we should charge more because we spend more time, but also we can't price ourselves out of having it work. So there's a fine line of how much free work are you willing to give away? None, the answer is none.
How did you figure out how much to charge? You were like involved in the community, you took some special lessons?
You'd hear every once in a while like, oh, like, you know, I think one of our first new construction projects that came from another architect, and they were like, oh yeah, the client's kind of cheap. They had been a repeat client for them, and they're like, you know, this person's gonna want to charge you or give you about $10,000, and I was like, $10,000? Well, that's fine, you know. You know, that was the first new construction house I had designed as myself, and so yeah, we lost a lot of money on that one, but we got a cool project, and so that helped us get another project, you know, and so we just kept raising our rates until we weren't getting the work. Same thing too, like, you know, you do, let's say, you know, another one we did a house for like, I mean, it's a fee, I don't know, but let's just say it started with a 3 and ended in a 0 somewhere in there, but and we thought we were doing pretty good, and then we did this project. We lost a little bit of money on it. I say by loss, they worked for free a little bit. But then they recommended us to another person, and I was like, "Cool, thanks." I was like, "But you didn't tell them how much we charged you, did you?" And he was like, "Oh, I did, yeah." So then now that person knows the number, right? So you know, like, and then I'm like, "Oh, hey," and he's like, "Well, I thought your number was this." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you know, we need a little bit more." And so we got a little bit more out of him. But then the next time you do budget for them, you can't just like triple your rate to what you think should be the market or whatever. So it's always, you're always inching your fee up. But yeah, we just kind of got to a spot where we felt like this is what we deserve, and we're probably a little more expensive than the average person, but we're not as expensive as some of the other people. You know, we feel like we're in a happy spot where we feel like we're comfortable with the amount of money that we charge, and we're a little expensive.
Right.
Not terribly expensive.
That's right. But the properties and your work is great. So that works it.
Thank you.
So, for sure. So the next one, how was your life 15 years ago? And if you could say something to yourself, what it would be?
15 years ago, what year was that? Yeah, so, well, I'd just been out of architecture school for a couple of years at that point, and I was, man, like, it was in this like young architect stage or young designer stage where, you know, you're sort of like interfacing with all these other young designers and like you're really hungry and you're doing like public art projects and like really getting out there and kind of like just, you know, shaking the trees and see what falls down. It was really fun. You know, a lot of us are actually owning our own businesses now. But yeah, just like doing cool public art projects. We did a really silly mustache-shaped seesaw on the east side for a public art project that was super fun. We actually won an AI award for it, which was hilarious because the reason we shaped it like a mustache was because it was on this concrete plinth, and if we would have had just a straight bar, it would have put you really high up in the air. It wasn't a parking lot, so it was concrete asphalt below you, so it would have put you really high up in the air. So we started playing with the idea of like, okay, maybe we like play with the curve to kind of get that arc down a little bit so you're not as high. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, it looks like a mustache. You know, it's a handlebar mustache. And so we sort of like went full force with that idea and like put a pair of glasses above it and did full force this mustache ride, which is a 70s kind of sexual innuendo that we didn't call it that. We called it the Payphone Revival Project because the impetus was we were taking old payphone parts and repurposing them for something, and that's our seats were made out of the old payphone booths. Anyway, we submitted for an AIA award, and it won an AIA award. It was the first one out of the gate that night, and it's like, you know, we're in this auditorium with all these people, you know, kind of like dressed out nice, and it was the first one that won the award that night. So the judges are talking about the project on the video screen. And about halfway through that, one of the judges says, "The thing we really like about the mustache ride," which we had not called it, and he like picked up on, knew exactly what it was. In the entire like audience of like AIA members like was cracking up, and so that's probably the validation for like who I am as an architect.
You told me that you started, like you came back to study something. How old were you?
Oh, I was 32, I think.
How you can describe what was the main, I cannot say like difference, but what was different in you compared with the other people that was in your class?
Gotcha, yeah. So I would say that the difference, at least for me, from being in college as an 18-year-old versus being in college as a 32-year-old, was that I knew what I wanted to do. I was prepared mentally for tackling this task and absorbing all the information I could to start this new kind of career path. Ironically, in our class, there was a lot of people that were my age. There was, and I don't know if that was normal for that or just that year just happened to have a lot of 30-year-olds. I think I was an adult, versus as a young adult. So I tackled it seriously. Like did all my homework. Wasn't just like out like till 3 o'clock in the morning partying on a Tuesday. Was actually like super focused on the task at hand.
And would you say something to the new talents about that? Like, it's hard to say, oh, just be an adult and just take this seriously, but sometimes it's like the difference that will make, sometimes, the numbers, like the grades, like if you get an A or a B or whatever, sometimes it's not important, but sometimes the attitude and what you do every single day when you are studying makes the difference. So what do you think that is a good advice for the students that are now in architecture that sometimes are not taking the studies seriously?
Oh, it's like, it's hard to say like you only get one shot at it because clearly I had 2 shots at it. Architecture's fun, and it's like, it's a very rewarding career. It's you get to really express yourself as a designer. I would say, like, get in there and push the boundaries while you're in school. Like if the teacher says, I need you to design a box with a flat roof, like put a curved roof on it. Like push against that and like really express yourself and learn how to. You're in architecture school to learn how to design, and so sometimes there's boundaries and there's guidelines set for that. But like push it outside those guidelines a little bit. But just have fun with it. Architecture, again, should be a fun experience. And so if you're in school and you're just not really digging it, go do accounting or something. You'll make more money.
That's good. All right. Can you share a project that you are particularly proud of, and another one that you consider was one of your biggest mistakes? How did you solve it, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Okay. So I would say the one that we're really proud of right now, and you were there the other day, it's the Ramsdorf project in Holly neighborhood. It's a really cool design. It's got a lot of curves to it. It's very organic. We use rammed earth on it. It's a fantastic design, super fun. So I would say like right now, that one's on top of my list for favorites. All the new ones always are, right? But for as far as a mistake, I would say we did one project where the client came to us and they wanted to build a house for a family member of theirs, and they were going to pay. Excuse me, they were going to pay for it, and so we were like, yeah, cool, we'll do that. And so we signed a contract with this person, and then we met their family member. A couple weeks later when they came into town to start talking about some of the design elements, and they were like, oh no, we hate modern architecture. We want to do a craftsman house. And we were like, ooh, okay. And we should have walked away from the project at that point. just because not so much that we can't design the craftsman home, but it's not what we do. You know, it's not. It wasn't our forte. You know, we had to like dig in and learn a little about some of the detailing and things like that. But it wasn't our we weren't passionate about that because it wasn't something that we were jazzed about. And so, you know, in the end, you know, we kept trying to steer the client in a modern direction. And we won some of those battles and we lost some of those battles, you know. But in the end, it wasn't really a project that we were like jazzed about and stoked about. And you know, the client potentially could have gotten something different from a client, from an architect who like specialized in that type of architecture. So I would just say, you know, like from the mistake category, just like don't take a project that you're not jazzed about.
How you can describe yours? How you can describe your style?
I would say funky modern. That's weird, right? No, I would say we're very colorful. You know, we don't shy away from using color and geometries and funky shapes and stuff. Like we like our architecture to kind of be a little bit of a sculptural element. To have a lot of personality to it. So, you know, somewhere in there, like we're, you know, funky modern.
Yeah, this project that I had the pleasure to walk through, and that is in the construction process, that is in the Garden Street. Those shapes are amazing. And I literally saw the renderings, and I felt that the construction was complete.
Right.
And I was like, well, these are pictures. Okay, and is that the last color that the property will have?
Yeah.
Like that aqua color?
The roof material is like it's like a sagey, like a light sagey green. And then the render is that like kind of earthy tone. And then it has some stuff that kind of, it's a gray color that kind of fades to the background. But that project, I mean, that's one of our favorite clients. It's a builder developer combo, and one of the guys is super creative and is always wanting to kind of push the boundaries. And it was his idea to do a rendering project. And he's always sending us little sketches and doodles, and like, you know, and like we have like long design shreds with him, and you know, like that design from where it started to where it finished is like 100% different, you know. And it was just from the process of collaboration and really just like pushing the boundaries of what else can we do? Like, how can we make this funkier, you know?
Beautiful and completely good work there. It's amazing. I'm so excited to see the final.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. Do you think that your designs tell something about you and how?
I think so. And kind of similar, like, you know, our designs, they're a little funky and they're a little proud and loud. You know, like, you know, I grew up listening to punk rock music and new wave music and, you know, big funky haircuts, you know, like I just like things that are sort of like stand out and feel like they're a bit of the counterculture, and I feel like our architecture can speak to that.
Previous to this conversation, Davey was sharing with me that they are working with, what is the company?
Clay Imports.
Clay Imports, to create these amazing, beautiful, gorgeous tiles. And I was thinking about this question because your designs tell something about you, and I want that you guys see the pattern and the colors of this, and then the clothing from Davey. It's not that fun. It's completely himself in a tile.
In a tile,
so
actually, yeah.
That's amazing to see that. And I was just comparing, you know, the palette that you have in you today, and I was like, sometimes it's very fun to see these kind of details. And if you have a chance to use these amazing tiles, I would do it. But
it's funny.
It's very funny, and they have like, I will make a shoot to show you these 4 tiles that he brought, but it's very fun to see.
Sometimes when I'm getting dressed in the morning, I think about like, okay, am I going to a job site today? And if I am, I mean, beyond like, should I wear boots or flip flops, right? I mean, but like, you know, like, and when I go there, like, am I gonna like, are they all gonna like think like I'm lesser of a man, right? Because construction is very masculine, right? So like, they're gonna be like, look at this Fruit Loop wearing, you know, like pink shirt and green pants. But hey, you know what? Once I get on the job site, I don't need friends with everybody, so I'm okay.
That's so good to see. And actually that property that we were talking about, the garden, will have some of this kind of color. Like this is what I saw in the renderings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you know, everything makes sense. It's very fun to see this. So okay, what do you think that is the hardest part of being a creative?
Oh, wow. Pushing the boundaries, your own boundaries, finding that new idea. That's the hardest part of being a designer is designing, right? Because unless you just want to repeat the same thing over and over, which isn't really designing in my mind. So it's really about like finding that new thing that you get excited about and put out there. So, I mean, obviously it's like we all get writer's block. Sometimes that idea pops in your head in the middle of the night, and you're like, oh, I'll remember that in the morning. You wake up in the morning, and you're like, I remember I had an idea and I didn't write it down. But no, yeah, just the design process itself is it's hard. It's not easy. It might be easy for some people, but it's a hard process to keep designing. When we were at 13 people, we were doing like 60 houses a year or something. And so it's hard to have 60 designs coming out of your firm and then not start to like steal from each other,
Yeah. When and what moment I religiously take a running in the mornings, so I feel that on that moment of my day is when the creative ideas came to my mind. When do you think that those creative ideas came to your mind?
Maybe it's kind of creepy, but in the shower.
Yeah.
I take really long hot showers, and that's my sort of Zen meditative moment. That's where I sort of can I get prepared for my day, think about things that I have to do, and like think about projects. So that's kind of my meditative zone is the shower, and that's
You're very relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Okay. It has a lot of connection with the previous question, but do you think that the mental health is important as a creative and how that impacted your daily work?
Oh, wow. Yeah, mental health is, design, solving design problems it's a long process. And so if you're in a bad state of mind, well, that's definitely going to reflect in the design itself. And construction in general is a stressful business to be in. So yeah, sometimes it is hard to find that Zen zone. Oh, I also work till like 3 o'clock in the morning a lot.
Wow.
That's like between 11 p.m. and like 3 a.m. That's kind of like the quiet time. Like no one's calling, no one's texting, no one's emailing. It's the solid block of 4 hours that I can get with 0 distractions. So yeah, there you go.
And what time in the morning do you wake up?
It's like 7 or 8.
Wow. So your sleep time is very short.
Sometimes, yeah. I try not. I've been trying lately at least not to let myself work till 3 o'clock in the morning all the time. If I do it like 2 times a week, I'm okay. But if I do it 3 or 4 times a week, I kind of become a zombie.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like a kind of routine or ritual that you do every single day, or I don't know, like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, that you think that is helping to feed your mental health?
Well, my wife and I play tennis a few times a week. That helps a lot because otherwise, we're from home now, so it's too easy just to like wake up and get some coffee and start working, right? So if we at least go play tennis first in the morning, at least you get a little bit of physical health, a little bit of mental health, and a different shot to the day. Coming out of the cannon a little different, when you just sit down at the desk.
That's great.
And play music.
Of course, yeah. Maybe write music. You said that you compose your music as well. So
Mm-hmm.
do you think that is like kind of part of meditation? I feel that when you play an instrument or when you write, you have to be focused on the present. So it's kind of meditation, I think so. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. Like as far as like the creative process, like like writing songs is like it can be a torturous like design exercise, especially if like trying to recreate the wheel on a song too. Like as far as like maybe not doing the same like progression of A, D, and G, but yeah, I think writing and playing music is you sort of have to disconnect from the world and be present in that moment that you're playing your instrument, especially when you're with a band, right? Because you got parts that you're supposed to play that complement parts that they're playing. So if you're the one that's playing them all wrong, then everyone looks at you funny. But no, I think playing music is a very good meditative exercise. It sort of helps you focus, and just another design ritual that can expand upon your other design efforts.
Yeah, that's good. Great. What do you do when you feel like you have no more ideas to solve a design problem?
Oh, sleep on it. Sketch it out a bunch of times, and if it's not really going anywhere, just put it down and come back to it. Sometimes you can fight your way through it, but sometimes just like putting it down and coming back the next day, like it's a lot quicker.
Have a connection with your network? Do you have like some friends that are architects as well? Are you part of the community? Getting other sources that you can request help, or what is your process when you are?
Our like architect, like we have a little group that was several of us kind of in the similar sort of like age of firm that we were on a little like group text and group email threads with, that if we got if you need a little help on something, we reach out to each other and kind of like ask for some guidance or direction. And of course, my team, my team are fantastic people to rely on and reach out to. Everybody, like if you ask an architect, architects love to help. It's kind of awesome. They all like to share knowledge and breadth. So yeah, friends and colleagues.
Perfect. How do you see the future of the construction industry evolving, and what opportunities do you foresee for newcomers entering the field?
Interesting. It's an interesting time, and maybe there's always an interesting feeling time in many industries. With 3D printing taking over, if maybe potentially AI. There's so many parts of that are like, oh, is the framer going to be gone? There's going to be like a 3D printed house, and there's no longer a need for a framer or whatever trade it may be. And AI, is it going to replace jobs? And I feel like no on sort of all of those. I mean, AI is helping. I think people maybe like come up with design ideas, but AI can't. There's so many parts to solve in the design that AI is going to be too far away. What's the connection for this walnut to the ground, and how is that connecting to the concrete, and how is it connecting to the frame? There's so many parts and pieces to solve. Maybe you could say, hey, AI, I need a screen wall design. It can give you a head start, but solving the problem is really the architect's forte. And so I'm not sure. We'll see, but I do think that design might get a little funkier because AI, might throw some cool ideas out there that people can start with. 3D printing is obviously going to be something to contend with, and can do amazing shapes and stuff too. So I don't know. We'll see. All I know is I don't want to have to learn another software. I'm done learning software.
What is the software you?
We use Revit, SketchUp, and that's all I use.
Did you use something in the past that you think that now is like?
Oh, AutoCAD, yeah.
It's dated. You feel that it's
yeah, it's fine. Some people are still drawing in 2D, which is fine if that's your tool. They may not want to learn another software either.
Mm-hmm.
Designing in 3D feels a little more efficient for me, at least.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell me oh, there's this new software now, and everyone's going to be using this in 10 years, I'm going to be the guy still using AutoCAD or whatever. I'm still using Revit. I'll be like the dinosaur back there. I'm fine.
Yeah, for sure. What legacy do you hope to leave through your work and your firm's impact on the community?
Oh, I guess That's an interesting one. You know, there's a lot of older architecture in this neighborhood, especially from like Stinger. There's some older architects in Austin that have left sort of a legacy, and I you know, I hope that maybe our homes in 50 years, 60 years will still be around, and people will be like, oh yeah, there's some old McEathrons around this neighborhood, you know, whatever. But it's interesting because a lot of times on these infill lots, we're sort of designing to, at least previously till the new home code came out, to the McMansion code, which, you know, a lot of developers were trying to maximize square footage on these small lots, and so they were doing the dormer attic exemption, and so there's a lot of projects from this era in Austin that will be this like high-pitched roof with the dormers, which we've got many of those out there too. I'm curious how those will date, you know. Like, you know, the 80s Stingers, these super cool mid-century homes with these low pitched or flat roofs, you know, they're super fun and cool, and you see that as an era that you like, right? In 50 years, will the attic exemption be like, blah, you know, like, I mean, it kind of is now, right? We struggle with trying to find a way to make those interesting and cool. Try to push the dormers as far to the back as possible so you don't see them from the street. You know, there's so many things the tricks that we try to do to like hide the saddlebags, if you will. But I'm curious to see how this era of designing to the code will age. Obviously, when we get a chance, we design a flat roof or something that's just not the attic exemption roof. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll have some of these bangers still hanging around in 50 years. At least until I die. I don't care after that.
That you walk in the streets and look, it's a property, a McEathron property.
Right. It leaked like a sieve, but you know, it's cool shape.
That would be great to see that. All right, and this is the last one. Finally, give an advice to future designers, architects, creative in the Austin community.
Give some advice to the young ones.
Yeah.
To the young guns.
Not very young ones, maybe. You know.
Right, true. They could be 36 graduating college. Just starting.
That's true. That's possible.
I would say, like, just go for it. I mean, do your thing. You know, express yourself in your design, in your architecture, your interiors. You know, just do your thing, and you know, take projects that you're jazzed about and excited about. You know, we all start somewhere, so we do start with the porches and that, you know, the weird conversions to get us there. But and as soon as you can, plant your flag and just do your thing. And you know, if someone likes it, you know, you'll be successful, and you can do another one. You know,
you are on the other side.
Right.
Great.
And team up with a builder, man. I think that was one of the things that really got us a big jump start was teaming up with a builder, finding a builder that you have common goals with, and you know, hitch your wagon to that train, and you know, like they'll bring you plenty of business, and if they can execute on the construction for your design, then you guys will be a great team, and like, you know, just grow up with a builder. That's the best way to do it.
What are your favorite builders here in Austin that you like to work with?
Eric Browser and his team are doing fantastic stuff. Red Oven, like you mentioned, they're kind of new guys coming on the scene, doing great stuff. Oakman's doing fun stuff. Reisinger obviously has been doing this stuff for a long time. There's a lot. Render ATX is doing fantastic stuff. They're super nerdy into like building science. Very, you know, much about executing the details. Highline Homes, who we're doing a couple projects with, super jazzed with those guys. You know, they're super excited about the projects, and you know, like very good at executing, and it's especially on some of the things that are a little more expensive to execute. But you know, like they see the vision and they're like, let's do it. It's part of the design, and we're gonna knock it out. Yeah, off the top of my head, those guys come to mind.
Some shout-outs.
Those guys anyway. Excuse me.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you for all your answers and everything that you have shared with us. If you can, let us have your contact, your website, your social media, how people can reach you out. That's it.
All right. So our website is Davey Architecture, DAVEY Architecture.com. Our Instagram is davey.mceathron.architecture. MCEATHR. There's probably going to be spelled on the screen or something somewhere.
I will put it here.
Hardly anyone can spell that. My wife, she kept her own maiden name. She's like, I don't know, mess up that last name. What was the other question?
How people can reach you out?
Yeah.
What is the best way to do it?
Those are the best ways. We have a contact page on the website.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if you want that Davey put some, efforts and all his creativity for your new construction, well, you can walk through these amazing properties. You have an idea of one of his properties and everything that is around this one is beautiful. And you can check his website for sure. He has more constructions that you can get some inspiration and you can learn more about his projects. Sure. All right, thank you so much, Davey, again, and thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this is inspiring for everyone, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.
Adios.